Hey again, everybody. Cathy McLeish back here, and today I want to do a pros and cons list about should I keep on drinking? Should I maybe stop drinking? What are the pros and what are the cons? So, Cathy McLeish, over 30 years sober, learned a lot from other people before me, and I have learned a lot from the people that came after me, people that I worked with, people that just wanted to grow and change and live a new way without alcohol. So I want to share a little bit of that wisdom, experience, maybe hope is the right word, with people that are thinking, what would life be like if I didn't drink? So if you're thinking about that, maybe one of the things I learned, one of the tools that I've learned and used for a lot of different decision-making processes is doing a pros and cons list. So one of the rules, and first of all, let me say, I am not an expert on anything. And so if I show you how to do a pros and cons list, it's just Cathy's way of doing a pros and cons list. You can do it however you want. But I do a pros and cons list and I weigh the things on each side. So if I have a list of 5 things on this side and 5 things on that side, it's not a wash necessarily. It's not equal. It depends on the weight of these 5 things against the weight of these 5 things. So say if I want to hire somebody to do my lawn and I want to put some pros and cons. Well, one of the pros would be I wouldn't have to do my lawn. I would have 3 extra hours. One of the cons would be I got to pay this guy $50 an hour. So $150 for my 3 hours. And the weight of that might not be the same. I might say me gaining 3 hours, if I used it, that'd be awesome, but maybe I'll just have to give that a 2 because I could take a nap for an hour and a half. Anyways, and the $150, that might get a 5 or a 4, depending on how tight the finances are. So the weight of what's on both sides is going to be different, and then at the end, you tally up the weight, and then whatever side has the highest score, that is the side that is going to be maybe the one you should consider going with. So why would I not drink? What are the pros of not drinking? So for me, maybe I didn't even identify those until after I was sober for a while. I could not have fathomed how many things were going on in my life that were actually causing me trouble that had to do with alcohol. I would have said, alcohol is my solution for all these things that are going on in my life. So if you take away alcohol, that is a really stupid con for all of these things that are going on, because actually alcohol is my solution. So that would make it a pro. In reality, alcohol was the con, and the things that were going to get better were the pros. So how about relationships? Relationships really improved when I stopped drinking. So maybe your relationships might improve. So we're going to put that on the pro list. I might have better relationships if I can talk to people, if I can show up, if I can keep promises that I make. My relationships just might improve. How about my work ethic, getting out of bed in the morning? I might tell you that I use alcohol to get to work. And then if I had to think about it, I might have missed work the last, a couple times the last several weeks because I had a hangover. So that's a wash. I might have to say that my work would improve if I gave up alcohol. So that again would go on the pro list. My family relationships might improve. My work ethic might improve. My finances, how about my finances? Are they going to get worse or better if I stop drinking? Usually the answer is better. Not just because we spend money on alcohol, but my lifestyle that went around alcohol was costly. I could sometimes start drinking and I would have every intention of getting a bill paid or taking care of something that had to do with finances, and it would not get done because I would end up in a blackout and not do anything about this, important decision or this important bill that needed to be paid until the next day. So there were different things that affected me financially because of my drinking. I can remember times when I spent $100 a night going to a hotel because of the friction that was in my home life. And that is a cost of drinking. So there are different things, whether you wrecked a car, whether you are separated and you're paying for 2 households, there are financial costs to drinking alcohol. So, my finances might improve if I give up alcohol. And then anybody can say their own personal reasons. Maybe you're separated from your children because of your drinking. Maybe you have not been a dependable, healthy parent, and you could actually get back in your children's lives if you would stay sober for a while. Maybe your ex took him and moved to another state, so he didn't even have to deal with your drama. Well, maybe if I stay sober, if I go through the court system, if I have a year's sobriety, they might look on that differently, and I might get a chance to get back to see my kids. Now that's a pro. So, what do we have on the con list? On the con list, one of the first things that came up for me is, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine not drinking at my daughter's wedding. Now, when I got sober, my daughters were 2.5 and 3.5. And I don't know why this alcoholic mind went to, oh my gosh, I will not be able to drink at my daughter's wedding. That was definitely a con, but it was way down there on the scale of the importance or the numerical value of the cons. And to me, it was like a very important factor in getting sober. Another thing was just thinking about going to any kind of event, whether it was a family event, whether it was holidays, or just social events with friends. What would it be like not to drink? And, to me, it was a very big thing. That was going to be a con, that I would have to show up and not drink, and then maybe even actually tell people that I wasn't going to drink. And what if they asked, why? Why aren't you drinking? The alcoholic mind makes little things, blows little things up into really big things. Because for the most part, other people don't care if we're drinking or not. In fact, if they think we have a problem, they're usually a little relieved when we stop drinking. So the idea that I'm going to be embarrassed, that I'm going to be humbled in some kind of a social situation because I'm not drinking, that is mostly in my alcoholic mind. So that con can go on the con list because it's really real to the alcoholic. But as far as the numerical value of it, we're going to have to be honest and say it too would go on the low scale. So I can't sleep nights. What about that? I use alcohol to get to sleep at night. And let's dissect that just a little. That could be a health issue. That really could be a health issue where I cannot sleep at night, and so I use alcohol. However, using something that is hard on my body is not good to help to get sleep, which is good for my body. So that would be kind of a wash. Actually, when I got sober, the things that kept me awake at night, the things that were going wrong with my life that kept me awake at night started to get sorted out and worked through. And so I could lay my head down on the pillow, and where normally I would be worried about this relationship, those finances, this job situation, I would have peace. I would go through some of these things and I would think, it's not as bad as it used to be. It's getting better. It's going to be okay. Another tool that I learned in recovery, in the rooms of people saying, this is what helped me to get through in early sobriety. Another tool that I learned was letting go of the things I couldn't do anything about anyway. So when I stopped drinking, I had to let go. It was actually a gift. I was gifted with the tool of being able to let go of the things that I couldn't change anyways. And so when I lay my head down on the pillow and I think about what's going on with my children, and I run it through that, what can I change? What can I do something about? And then maybe thinking about that action, and I'll take that action the next day, but what do I just need to let go of and surrender? Because it's not mine to fix. And when I can do that, when I can go through that process of I'm not in control of everybody and everything, then I can lay my head down on the pillow with a little bit more peace. But for today, if sleeping is a problem and we think that we're going to give up alcohol and we're never going to get a good night's sleep, we're going to give that a 4 or a 5 on the con list. So that's over there on the con list. Now, so far, just with a few minutes of going through some of the major things in our lives, we have things on the pro list that we can improve, whether it's family, work, finances, relationships with our children. We have 5s, maybe 4s in some situations, but for the most part, we have 5s over here of how we can improve our life. And over here, we have a couple of 1s and maybe a 4 or a 5 that could possibly really change if we put down a drink. Now, in my alcoholic mind, in the early days, I would be giving you a lot more cons. There is a lot more cons. How am I going to deal with this spouse? How am I going to deal with that boss? Well, you know what? A lot of normal people don't toss alcohol at every problem that they have. They learn coping skills. And so maybe I think, maybe I could get a therapist or a coach or some kind of a support system. Maybe I could go to a recovery program. Maybe I could even go to rehab and learn some serious tools so that I don't have to throw alcohol at everything. Then the first thought is, oh, I don't have the money for that. I don't have the money for a therapist, but I'm saving money over here. I'm not drinking. I'm not making poor financial decisions. I'm saving money over here by living responsibly without alcohol. And I probably could afford to do something, to pull something into my life as a support system, a therapist, counselor, any kind of tool that is going to help me to keep going forward by keeping my mind on the right track and giving me, extra information, extra perspective when I come up against a problem that I have only solved one way, by drinking. So we're making a pros and a cons list. Should I stop drinking? Should I not stop drinking? I've got a lot of pros that I can see. I don't know if they're all related to drinking. I haven't even thought about my health. Maybe my health would improve if I stopped drinking. That's what my doctor said the last 3 times I was there. I have a lot of possibilities of having some positive things happen in my life if I put down a drink. I have a few things that I'm really worried about over here. How about another con? I'm going to have to go into something new and different. I'm going to have to go into something new and different and leave my crutch of alcohol. What I used to cope, what I used to feel comfortable, what I used to get through life, I'm going to have to leave it behind. Now that is probably a 5 on the con list. But everything I've ever tried in my life that has been new and different has only been uncomfortable for a period of time. So my family relationships get better, they're going to get better forever. If I learn to do my finances, I'm going to have financial security in the future forever. I'm going to have these pros, and they're going to be there for a long time. The uncomfortable nature of me doing something new and different, it's only going to be uncomfortable temporarily. And so I may give it a 5. It may have a 5 today, but it may be over here on the pro list before I know it. I did something new and different. I found a support system, and it is helping me. It is giving me new light, new perspective, a new way of looking at things. It is troubleshooting my problems and coming up with answers that actually work. It may be on my pro list in another month or 2. So if I have a pro and a con list, and it's leaning a little bit heavily on the pros, maybe I could go without a drink for 30 days, for 60 days. How about I just do 30 and then see at the end of 30 what I think about it? It just might make a big enough difference that I start knocking some of these things off my con list and adding them to my pro list. It's worth a shot. It's worth a try. And if I could say one more thing in summary, I could not see all of the things that alcohol was affecting in my life in a negative way. One of them, very big, was my health. And when it turned around, I was like, I never would have thought that was connected to my alcoholism. Even my relationship with my partner at the time, it softened so much when I gave up alcohol. It was just the ability, instead of throwing alcohol on all those emotions and then just revving up those resentments and that anger, I had the ability to step away. It wasn't like it was fixed. It was like I had the ability to back up, see it from a different perspective, and just kind of live and let live until I made the decisions that I had to make eventually. So there are a lot of pros. There are pros we cannot see. And maybe just adding a few invisible ones and giving them a 3, a 4, or a 5. If you decide to stay sober for 30 days or 60 days, you will be able to fill in those blanks. And you will be the most surprised of all at what alcohol was taking from you that you didn't realize that you have back because you put down a drink. Cathy McLeish just talking about the pros and cons of thinking about taking alcohol out of my life for a few weeks, for a few months, and seeing what the difference is. I can always go back. I can always take back that life, but it's worth trying to see what's on the other side. Thanks.